Okay, now as far as the church, for you, those of you that don't think that the church has anything to do with it, or to kind of tie the church into all of it, is, well, a couple things, and we'll kind of run it through a little bit here. First and foremost, they too have your face shoved right up against a fucking dollar bill as well. And if you don't think that it's not about the dollar bill, then you have to ask yourself this. Why is it, and particularly the Catholic Church, has so much of this that they could wipe their ass with this? Everybody, the Pope, every cardinal, every bishop, fuck, you throw in the janitors into that shit. They could wipe their ass with 20s all fucking day long and not miss it. Fuck, you know what? They could wipe their ass with hundreds and not miss a fucking dime with it. And when we go to church, one of the first things we have to do, well, not first thing, but when we get there, they pass the plate so you can throw some of this in. And of course, it all starts with the Catholic Church, and it goes all the way down through all your little local neighborhood. And the Catholic Church is the standard by which everybody else basically does their business. Now, of course, the Illuminati has infiltrated the church, just like they've infiltrated pretty much everything else, except for the Freemason and a couple of other groups that are pretty much on par with what's going on here. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat. For those Christians that have already made it to this point, they weren't so offended that they fucking ran off and hid, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to get into some pretty healthy shit here. And I'm not going to be nice and easy. So if you've been offended already, the only thing that it means is, well, one, if you actually made it this far, that you have some reasonable expectation of what's going on here, and you definitely have started to realize that your parents raised some pussy, but you need to get past that. So, and for those of you that are starting to get offended, seriously offended, think about this. Your parents raised some pussies. Get the fuck past it, cupcake. Wake the fuck up. This isn't about you. It hadn't been about you. Never has, never was. So, in the beginning, when it starts with the church, this is where things, literally, the Illuminati are part and parcel, in my opinion, partly responsible for screwing up what was meant to be initially something beautiful and wonderful. And that is the back end of the book of Revelations. It was supposed to be a positive prophecy. It was supposed to be something wonderful because it was the 2012 awakening of our pineal gland, our all oneness, our seeing the connectiveness, feeling the connectiveness, and acknowledging the connectiveness between every living thing on the face of this earth, and not being bound by our belief in ownership of anything here. And of course, particularly those that own land. Really? You own Mother Earth? What the fuck? Are you serious? You don't fucking own Mother Earth. Mother owns us. Think about it. Are you fucking stupid? Who the fuck gave anybody the right to fucking stake down a piece of, oh, this is mine? Really? For how far down? All the way to the other side where somebody else fucking lives? Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just talking about this little surface section. Really? Come on. There's nothing there that you own. Yeah, you can throw concrete down and call it yours. You can do whatever. But ownership is also part of what keeps you tied to this. And as long as you consider the ownership of anything, you have forgotten about everything else but this. Because in order to have ownership, you must have this. Now, for most of you that have continued to watch, you obviously believe in education. But I'm going to give you a scenario, just to kind of lay out a little bit of foundation as to the church and what it is that we have. because I believe that there's a couple of different dynamics that were at play when the Bible was written, when the Catholic Church was created. Now, first and foremost, let's understand in a basic general sense, most people value education. Anybody that, on a typical basis, you ask them, do you value education? Yeah. I'm cool with it. Knowing 2 plus 2 equals 4, I'm good. But let's put it into a little bit more of a grand perspective thing. Let's just say that you are attempting to go after a career that requires you to have a degree in order to get it. Something such as a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer. Because you cannot get licensed to work in those fields unless you have a degree in which says that you have at least a base amount of knowledge in which to work in that field. Now, when thinking about education in a general sense, obviously I realize that there's a lot of variables, a lot of dynamics that can play into this. You know, well, it depends on the education. What are you talking? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of variables that can change little aspects. But in a general sense, think about this. You're going after one of those careers. You need to get that degree. To get that degree, you have to put in X number of years to get X number of credits. And to get those X number of credits, you have to take X number of classes. Not just one, but many. It's going to take you years to get the degree. So, now, what would you think if in your very first semester, your very first professor, at the end of that first semester, stopped you at the classroom of his door as you were leaving after you'd finished the class, you received all the credits from that one class, not everything else it takes to get the degree, but just that one class. And that professor stops you and tells you, you now have all the knowledge that you need to get the degree, to know everything you need to know to go out into that world and be a productive part of that world, to get that license to do that career. Knowing that you need to have all those other classes, looking out that door at the rest of the campus, seeing all those classes, knowing I still need to spend a lot of time here, what would you think of that professor? Think about that. And then, think about this. What would you think about the education you'd received from him? Again, in a general sense, because I understand variables change. But what would you think in a general sense of the education you'd received from him if you found out that he thought that the world was flat? Think about that. What would you think about your professor at that moment and the education that you'd received? Now, I know the general basic answer across a wide breadth of society, because again, I have done my man in the street research. I have talked to many, many people, just had basic, simple conversations, not even putting them under the pressure of, hey, I want to find out what you think about this information. Just, oh yeah, Typically speaking, when it comes to your overall thought of that professor, most people would be thinking, wow, this guy's a complete flaming jerk. And he don't know shit, and he just taught me shit. Fuck this guy. Seriously, fuck this guy. All right? Well, this is how it stands. If you think that that's kind of weird, when this bad Johnny right here was written, the Bible, it was done in 325 AD at the Council of Nicaea. This is a small group of men. They were basically the early beginnings of the Roman Catholic Church. They sat down to consolidate Christendom and write the Bible. What they were doing is they were a bunch of guys from all these different regions. They had all these different stories, and they wanted to consolidate these different stories into one basic, long, big story to create this church. Now, most people understand this, but, well, there's a couple of things. One, I do believe that there were some members, because there's serious clues in here to tell us that, number one, 2012 was going to happen. Book of Revelations. They're going to tell us about the pineal gland. They're going to tell us that there wasn't just one invisible, mystical, magical deity that came out of nowhere, or whatever. It didn't really happen that way. Now, yes, and I'm going to clarify. Do I believe that there is more? Yes. We can call it God. I'll go with that. That's easy, because it's a one-word, simple explanation to this almighty energy of information source that's everything that we are, each and every one of us, the plants, the animals, the universe. It's all one, and we are all part of it. It is all part of us. And do I believe in that? Yes. Do I believe that Jesus and Krishna and Buddha walked the face of the earth? Yeah. So I don't believe that it was just Jesus and just this one invisible, mystical, magical deity. And in fact, right in the very beginning of the book, members of the Council of Nicaea made sure, because they didn't fully agree with the Roman Catholic Church and its overall agenda, because this is where it came down to. They were taking God's word, they were cutting and editing for man. It wasn't inspired by God. It's inspired by this. And actually, it goes a little bit deeper than this. It actually goes all the way to something just a little bit more that we'll cover later. Now, to prove my point, as far as the Council of Nicaea, certain members leaving clues in here. There's clue number one. Genesis 1:26. Genesis 1:26 says, God said, we will create man in our image. Okay. Now, me as just a logical dipshit, I have to ask the question, well, who's God talking to? Now, of course, I can assure you that most Christians will tell you this is the Trinity. And they will unequivocally be like, no, it's the Trinity. You blasphemous little fuck. But it's not. And I can easily prove that just simply by one word. Torah. Torah, for most of you that don't know, not familiar with a lot of religions, there's a New and Old Testament in this book. The Old Testament is the very beginning. It starts with the chapter of Genesis. The word Torah directly relates to the fact that this, the Old Testament, is what the Christians share with the Jews. Now, just to be absolutely certain that what separates Jews from the Christians is the Jews and the Christians are all essentially believing in the same God. But the Christians believe that Jesus, the Son of God, Jesus Christ, walked the face of this earth, which he did. Lots of evidence to prove that. But that he is the one and only begotten Son. Now, Christians are going to tell you that Genesis 1:26, who the gods were talking to, this was the Trinity. This is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Really? The Son? The problem is if you read the Bible, once you understand, and even just a quick couple of glances through a few chapters, you realize that the Old Torah, the Old Testament, the beginning of the book, didn't have Jesus in it. It's the New Testament. It's the Christian part. Why? Because the Jews, they didn't think that Jesus Christ was the Son of God in that respect that the Christians do. But in fact, we're all the sons of God. So, ask yourself this. How the fuck was it the Trinity, assholes? All you Christians that think it's the fucking Trinity, ask yourself that fucking question. Be serious about it. Each and every one of you out there. Each and every one of you. Ask yourself that fucking question. It's the fucking Torah. It's the part that the Jews share with you. And you still think it's the fucking Trinity, but they don't. But you're telling everybody that you guys believe in the same God, and that whole fucking Torah part, the whole Testament, you guys share, you cling to like it's a motherfucking blanket. Go to Genesis 6. Another huge clue. Now, depending on which Bible you have, there's several different versions of all these different texts, actually. They're all saying basically the same thing, but you have to read into it. There's three main versions of Genesis 6. One is the sons of God. Two is the spirits from the spirit world. And three is the angels. Now, we just discussed Jesus. Jesus is the one and only begotten Son as far as the Christians are concerned. And Catholic Church is a Christian church. They're the ones that wrote the Bible. So how in the fuck could it be the sons of God? Seriously. Seriously, think the fuck about that shit. And if you're not fucking thinking about it, think about it. The sons of God? Really? One and only begotten Son? Sons of? Singular, plural. The fuck? Now, let's go to spirits and or angels. Either one. Because they're both pretty much... We're talking about something that everybody knows is essentially an energy source, an invisible deity that can make itself known to us, but it has no physical body, from what we've been told. The Bible fucking tells us this, basically. So, when you read Genesis 6, the whole quote is, the sons of God saw the women of earth, thought they were beautiful, and came down and took them as their wives, multiplied the humanity of earth. They had children. They had sex. Are you fucking kidding me? An angel had sex? How the fuck did an angel have sex? Anybody? Anybody have a fucking answer for that? An invisible fucking deity, no carbon-based body? What dick did he fucking stick in the pussy? You gotta be fucking real about this shit. Come on. Like I said, I fucking shoot this shit straight. I don't fucking beat around the bush. I'm not gonna be fucking nice and easy. This is Popeye's House of Pain University. I'm gonna make it sting a bit, people. I'm gonna fucking bitch slap your motherfucking face a little bit. I'm gonna fucking wake your ass up, and I'm gonna make you think. And I don't want you to think just like me. But I want you to fucking think about it. Start putting some fucking answers together when you start looking at the picture from way the fuck back there. You know, that dollar bill gets way the fuck back here. You don't see it so fucking much anymore. You start seeing the bigger picture. You start seeing it. And in fact, the rest of the clues are throughout the Old Testament, the Torah. And the majority of it is that they were telling you specifically that there was multiple gods and not just one. Well, how the fuck was that, Popeye? It's this. Think about these things. Number one, throughout the whole Old Testament, God says, I'm an evil God, I'm not an evil God. I'm a loving God, I'm not a loving God. I'm a jealous God, I'm not a jealous God. Motherfuck, are you serious? That sounds like a fucking psychotic bitch that can't fucking remember from one minute to the next who he told what to, fucking who, why, and where. Now, my God, he got his facts and figures straight, motherfuckers. He knows who the fuck he talked to and when he talked to him, why he talked to him, and he tells the fucking story the same to everybody. He doesn't fucking lie. He doesn't bullshit. He doesn't try to give you a metaphor through his lies and bullshit, telling you, well, I love this one, but I hate this one. I'm going to kill this one. I'm going to kill that one. And the motherfucker, the God in the Old Testament killed a lot. 1.8 million motherfuckers. Ordered the killing of almost another million others. Over 800,000. But if you consider the fact that there was multiple gods, there was multiples all around, everywhere, it starts to make sense then, because not every of the littler ones, the angels and or whoever, the somewheres in between, and I'll make some of this a little bit more clear in just a bit. If you consider that there was a lot, like every other ancient culture tells you, that there wasn't just one, that there were multiples, that the gods initially were people, human beings, coming from other planets. The Zuni, the Hopi, the Navajo, the Apache Indians, they'll all tell you that, yeah, that's true. They call them star people. Look at the Hindu religion and all these others. That ancient story is from beings coming from other planets, coming down and multiplying the face of the earth. And essentially those are humans. They're just other humans on other planets. And we know this. In fact, Black Ops has documented 57 different extraterrestrial types of human beings. Most of them look like us, but we're pre-programmed to think that they have this weird little gray face, big eyed. But not in our solar system, because we know it's here, but in our galaxy. We have over 100 billion Earth-like planets with the capability of having human beings. Now, some of those are probably a little bit more advanced than we are. Damn it. Well, not all of them may be good either. Some of them may be haters. Some of them may have evil forces. Makes a lot of sense then why one's jealous, one's not, one hates, one's not. It starts to make a lot of sense. Now, specifically, I do believe that they were also telling us about the pineal gland as well. And specifically, in two different places in Matthew, right in the beginning of the New Testament. The earliest parts that you start to realize is that Well, and I say in the beginning, it's more about the middle, but yeah, when you look at it in terms of the overall message, there was an awful lot more that was already told to us. We didn't really need too much more than what we had. But specifically, in Matthew 4:16, it says, "There the people who sat in the darkness have seen great light." Specifically, they're talking about the pineal gland. You close your eyes, your pineal gland is activated. You see the world. You see the connectiveness. Things are turned on. It's active. You're spiritually connected. You open your eyes, you're back to the tangibles, the things that you can touch. Matthew 6:22. It says, "If your eye be pure, there will be sunshine in your soul." Again, this is a direct reference to your pineal gland. The pineal gland. It's right here. Matthew. Right there. Pull the Bible out. Find it. Matthew 6:22. In fact, all of this, again, is designed to keep us a bit distracted and not be focused on the bigger picture. And essentially, what I know to be true is a couple of different things. And first and foremost is this. When it comes to some of these ancient stories, some of them were definitely true. But you have to consider that, particularly when looking at the stories, how many times they've been handed down, so on and so forth, there might be a little distortion. Of course, if you think that if you realize that man has edited for man's agenda, not God's, that there is a definite issue there. But then when you consider that, well, it's this. They knew that there's a problem. In fact, when you transfer stories multiple times downhand, it has a problem. It has a tendency to change. Now, yes, the concept might still be the same, but it might not. It very might not. And ask yourself this: have you ever played the game Telephone? And if you haven't, go play it a little bit. Get some friends together and do this. The game Telephone is where you get a group of people, kids. It's essentially a kid game. You write down a story. One kid writes down a story. And then, so that we know exactly what the story was. It's documented. Then, just by memory, without pulling anything out, or he can actually read it to where he gives the exact story, but then he tells it into the ear of the guy sitting next to him. Then by memory, he tells that same story to the guy sitting next to him. Goes around the circle. And then when it comes back to the guy that started the story, you see how much it's changed. And I can assure you it's going to. It always does. The game is called Telephone. And it's a phenomenal game. It's brilliant. It tells you that it's almost impossible to remember all these little things. Multiple generations carry some of these stories. So clues had to be written in to start telling us, again, that we had to pay attention to all of this. Now, how does all of this tie into stopping the vote? Well, all of it, is in direct relation to this. All these little issues created by the church and abortion rights and things created by our government and or whatever. the global warming thing. You know, any issues that you can think of, as long as we think of a small issue, such as, oh, you know, the blacks against the whites, the gays against the straights, and or whatever. And in fact, just as a little note on that one, I'm going to just throw something out there. A little side note. When it comes to gay marriage, I'm going to get it nice and close so you guys can see my face, so there's no misconception of the expression on my face, so you know exactly how I feel out of my heart. Particularly you fucking Christians that are all pissed off about gays wanting to get married. You don't care if they have any kind of union, but you don't want them to use the word marriage and or whatever. You'd prefer to have them use the word companion. You feel old-fashioned, so you don't want them using the word marriage. Well, here's a couple of things. Number one, the word marriage is not as old-fashioned as the word companion, because that used to be the ancient word for marriage. Now, how old-fashioned are you, motherfucker? Are you old-fashioned or old-fashioned? And then there's another perspective on this. What the fuck? Are you the fucking word police? Particularly here in the United States, we have freedom of fucking speech. We have the right to say what we want. And part of that is no censorship by anybody, including some fucking old-fashioned piece of shit that thinks, I don't want the sanctity of my marriage ruined by gays saying that they're married. I won't be able to raise my kids right, and I won't be able to fuck my husband right, or my wife right, or it's gonna change everything. Fuck you. It didn't change a motherfucking thing. They used a fucking word. It didn't change a motherfucking thing in your life, so get the fuck over it, Cupcake. It's not about your ass. It's about the fucking rest of the world and all of us. So get your fucking ass out of your head, or your head out of your ass, motherfuckers. So, this is it in a nutshell. As long as you're paying attention to those little details, you're never going to focus on the government and the church as being the bigger issue. And they're run by the Illuminati. They're infiltrated by the Illuminati. And in fact, as we said, you know, there's several references. Both the founding fathers have given us the references to the 2012 prophecy. The Bible has given us the references to the 2012 prophecy. But then there's, of course, how do we put this all into perspective of stopping the vote? Well, let's go back real quick to just this dollar bill. And this dollar bill has just one simple little thing that it continually does. It forces us to stay focused on it. And one of the things that is an issue here is because we're focused on all these things, the dollar in itself and all these other smaller issues that really don't fucking mean anything to the real picture, because we're all one and we shouldn't be making choices for others in this kind of fashion. And it's this. We have to work hard, and until we actually get to that point where we have that free energy that Nikola Tesla is trying to provide for us, to where we don't have to have a monetary system to pay for it. Everything is done in trade, and there is no need for the dollar bill ever again. Doesn't mean that people aren't going to work and do things. That still has to happen. That's how things are going to continue to move. We all have a small part to play. We have to do it. But there's none of this involved. But until that day, this means so fucking much to all of us, because even for those of you that are spiritually enlightened and want to make it all about, well, money doesn't mean everything. Well, you're right. It doesn't fucking mean everything. It fucking doesn't mean shit for real. But until the day that we can get rid of it, it means a lot. because we have to have enough of it to survive. We have to have enough of it to eat, unless we have land in which to grow our own and da-da-da-da-da. Most of us don't have that. So we still need this in order to survive. We got to be able to eat to fucking live. Now, for most of us, I know I do, I work hard for this motherfucker. And when I do, I want to keep as much of this motherfucker in my pocket as I possibly can. Now, a perspective thing. If you got fired today from your fucking job, how many more fucking days would they pay you these? How many more fucking days would you get another motherfucking dollar from that fucking job, that company, if they fired your ass right fucking now? None. Not a motherfucking one. You wouldn't get another fucking dollar from the fucking boss, the owner of the company, anybody. Payroll would not fucking write your name on a check. Now, perspective thing. Most people don't know this, but on a federal level, it's also on some state, county, city, all are a little different everywhere, but it's in there. We're focused on one issue right now. All the issues that the government have created. All the issues that the government created. We're just going to deal with one right now. I'm a voter. At least I used to be. I've stopped voting now. But as a voter, when I'm voting a federal politician into or out of office, I'm either firing or hiring, because these guys work for us. We don't work for them, they work for us. They're our representatives. They're supposed to be speaking for us, me, you, all of us. But if I elect to vote that motherfucker out of office, I have fired him. He's fucking done. And I've hired another. But a long time ago, do your research. Go back and check your facts on this. Don't take my word for this. Look at it. Do your own research. Figure it the fuck out for yourself. Our federal elected officials get a lifetime fucking pension. I have to work for the end of my days to pay for the end of his. The fuck? Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking telling me that I fired that motherfucker that I voted out 20 fucking years, 30 fucking years? I started voting when I was about 20 fucking years old, and I voted fuckers out. I fired his ass, and I'm still fucking paying for him? Wow. Are you fucking kidding me? And I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that it's a willable pension, too, that we still paying for that motherfucker even after you die. The fuck? Now, for the most part, it goes to the spouse, because she can't lose her lifestyle. She can't be downgraded. Here it is. But, are you fucking kidding me? Now, that's just one issue. One motherfucking issue that our government has created. But it's a perspective thing. If you think about it, you think about it real hard. Just on that one motherfucking issue, have I not presented a solid case for never fucking voting again and continuing to play their games? Because it comes down to this. If we stop the vote. I know that it seems like a crazy idea. But you gotta look at this. This is the only way that we can do it. We can't bear arms against them. They're gonna fucking blow us away. They're gonna implement martial law. They're going to start shooting and imprisoning people. And they're going to have justifiable reasons because we're going to be bang, bang, shoot them up. Isn't going to work. But think about this perspective thing. If I just stop voting, it doesn't mean shit. Because there's a lot of people that still don't vote. They never even fucking register. If I got my whole fucking neighborhood to stop voting, it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean a motherfucking thing because we don't hold any power as just a small group. And as long as we're focused on all these little small groups, or small issues, these things that don't mean anything, they're keeping us broken down to the smallest number of groups, smallest number of people per group, so that when we hold really no power and we never ever focus on them, because we're focused on each other, fighting amongst each other over bullshit that doesn't matter. Why should I hate somebody that has a different color than me? Why should I hate somebody that has different sexual preference than me? It doesn't affect me any at all. They're part of me. I'm part of them. That's part of what all of this is. That's part of what our energy and our spirituality and all the energy that flows through is. But as long as we're not focused on that, we're focused on the dollar, we're not focused on them. And we miss the bigger picture. So, as long as we realize that if we collectively, across the board, coast to coast, border to border, everybody got together and we just said no more. We're not playing your fucking games anymore. We're not voting. We're not fighting over this guy or that guy or whatever and dividing us down the middle to where we have no power against you. Fuck you. It's a very passive, non-aggressive way of telling the government we're done. We're not doing it anymore. We know that there's there's technology to give us the energy. We know that there's cures for cancer. We know all of these things have happened, but you're squashing it. We know that there's people on other planets, a fucking universe, a galaxy full of rather 100 billion planets. That's mind-boggling. Earth-like planets that have the potential for human inhabitation. Man, there's got to be a lot of us out there, and a lot of them have to be a little bit more advanced than us. And quite frankly, it really comes down to this one issue. And if we stop voting, the only thing that the government can do is this. Number one, the incumbent's got to leave because, well, we didn't vote anybody in. We didn't vote anybody in at all because we didn't vote. And now, as far as, whether or not they have anything that they could do, well, yeah, for the most part, about the most that they could do is implement martial law. And that's putting the police and the military out in the streets to do one of two things. They can either shoot and kill us or imprison us, put us in concentration camps. And they have been building concentration camps because they foresee this issue coming. They know that this issue is coming. They know that the pineal gland has been turned on. They've been trying to squash it. They've been feeding us fluoride. They've been trying to keep it as suppressed as possible. But the real question, and I've asked, again, law enforcement, all the way up to and including a Secret Service agent. And the answer has been the same across the board when asked these couple of simple questions. Obviously, if you were told to go out into the street and implement martial law because kind of, as far as the government was concerned, hell had broke loose. We stopped voting and they didn't know what the fuck to do about it. If you were in front of somebody, then essentially it even comes down to this. And this is the way I would ask it. If you're out in the street, where is the line that you would have to draw that you would not cross for the government any longer? You would stop being on the side of the government in implementing that martial law. And when you did cross it, because you will cross it, and you're going to turn around and you're going to point the gun back at the government, and or you're going to drop the gun, be with the rest of us and say no more. No violence, no nothing. We're just done. And that line, and it is a line, It's also a person. Because if you were in front of your mother, your sister, oh, and this one's such a killer because this one kills it. If they didn't say yes on the first two, what about your daughter? Would you shoot or arrest your daughter just because she didn't fucking vote? She didn't play the fucking government's game, so you would shoot or arrest her? No, you wouldn't. Of course not. Now, the problem is they're probably not going to put you on a one-on-one in front of somebody that you care about. They might. But they're probably going to put Mike in front of your mom and you in front of Joe's mom and and you all collectively have to realize that, well, fuck, I hope that he doesn't shoot my baby girl. Fucking shoot my baby girl. I'll fucking shoot that nigga's ass. Now, we know that that line exists. If we'd all collectively get together and we just start to realize that we are all one. There is no black, there is no white, there is no this, that, and the other. We're all one. We have to love each other. And in order for us to get through and stop the chaos, we have to shut down this government. And this is how we do it. And all of us, we have to find where that part of us that we don't like, we need to find the hate for our brothers and our sisters on the face of this earth. Scientifically, we're all one. It's called the Eve effect. They can genetically trace us all together. It's real. So if you hate a black man because he's black, fuck you. It's you too, asshole. And for you black men that hate the white man, get over it too, motherfucker. Because he's you too. And again, any of you that get all bent the fuck up about whether or not this word's used or that word's used, because I don't know if many of you caught it, but I did this on purpose. I used the word nigga. Just like the word marriage. Really? Get the fuck over it. So number one, yeah, it's a bit of a derogatory term if you're clinging to the fucking hate. But let the fucking hate go. Because I tell you something. When Buddha was here, Buddha told us one very important thing. And this is what I'm going to leave the class on. When you cling to hate, this is the same as drinking poison and expecting the other to die. Now fucking think about that shit. Think about everything that you've just seen on this video. Think about everything that I've just said and fucking think about it. Each and every one of you, don't fucking let this go. Start paying attention to what's going on. Start using your infinite perspective, as minimal as it may be. Start stepping away from the dollar. Start stepping back and start seriously contemplating never voting again and taking control of this country and this world, what it was meant to be. Class dismissed.